Okay, so welcome everybody. It's lovely to see you. If you haven't got your camera on, if you can switch it on, that's really lovely. It's always nice to see faces. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome to this session Laura Fox. Laura worked at LinkedIn for 7 years, and now she helps companies use LinkedIn to elevate their own brands and get the most out of their own businesses using LinkedIn. So I'm going to, without further ado, hand over to Laura and she can take you through. If you have any questions throughout the session, please put them in the chat and we'll either ask them at a relevant point during the session or we will ask them at the end. Over to Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming. It's really nice to see you all. So as Kim mentioned, my background was marketing and advertising for 11 years. And then I worked at LinkedIn, and LinkedIn was completely transformational in so many levels in terms of how companies do business. And so when there was an opportunity to join, I got the tap on the shoulder to go and join. Obviously, I bit their hand off to join. And after I left in 2018, I set up my own LinkedIn consulting practice. And so now these are some of the clients that I'm working with at the moment. There are many more. I work with big companies, small companies. I work with literally companies that are 1-person or 2-person businesses, so micro businesses. I myself am what I would call kind of a micro business. I'm an individual consultant. I have partners that helps me deliver some of the work that I do for my clients, but essentially I'm probably just like you in many ways, in that I use LinkedIn as an individual to grow my client base, to promote my personal brand, my company brand, and ultimately to do more business. So rightly or wrongly, I don't have a website. I have never spent a penny in any marketing of my business. And I use LinkedIn to attract all of my clients. And I'd say that I probably get 80% of my business through LinkedIn, whether that's through just straightforward inbound leads, having myself listed in LinkedIn's consultant platform, which is a free thing that you can just put yourself on and you list your services, whether it be through referrals. I get, anecdotally, people tell me all the time that they've seen my content. So LinkedIn is, I've been a big fan of LinkedIn long before joining, but as a person that runs a small business, I'm absolutely reliant on the platform. And the best thing about it is that it's free. So there is so much benefit that you can gain from using LinkedIn for free. I do actually have a LinkedIn Premium subscription, which we can talk about if anybody wants to know anything about that. But I only get that because I'm an alumni of LinkedIn. So when you leave, everybody gets a subscription. Would I pay for it? Yeah, probably I would. But essentially, everything that I'm going to talk about today, you can do for free on LinkedIn. So there are 3 things that I'm going to cover. I'm going to move over the first one quite quickly, which is really to hammer home why LinkedIn is so important in today's business world. Just to be clear, because if you're not actively using LinkedIn, you're missing a huge opportunity. And I just want to really make that point very clear, because as I said, it's a really phenomenal business tool. The second thing that we're going to talk about is around how you actually create a professional brand on LinkedIn. And I know many of you may have been to other LinkedIn courses. Work Avenue and Kim has done a course for LinkedIn for Business. However, I cannot come and talk about LinkedIn without talking about your personal profile and your company profile, because that is the center, that is the heartbeat of everything that you do on LinkedIn. And I was telling Kim before the session started, I ran a session last night for a business school. 30 executives, it was for an executive MBA program, 30 executives on the call from all around the world. I couldn't believe how much white space they'd left on their profile, how poor their profiles were relative to their seniority and what they were trying to achieve on LinkedIn. And I really can't underestimate how important the profile is. So I'm going to go live on LinkedIn and just show you some of the things that you really, really need to be focusing on and you really need to get right. And then the last piece, and with this is a lot to cover, and how you can promote your company. And really what point 3 is really all about is content. So how you can really use content to win business. And that's how I win all my business, is by being active on the platform. So that's what we're going to cover today. As Kim said, please put your questions in the chat. I can't see them, but Kim can. So she may well stop and interrupt me if there's a question that's relevant to something we're talking about, or she'll hold them back at the end. So let's crack on. So just a little bit about LinkedIn. LinkedIn currently has 875 million members worldwide, growing at 3 new members a second. Their most recent financial results are fairly astonishing. They've grown sort of 17% year on year. And I always say my business does well when LinkedIn does well, and LinkedIn is doing phenomenally well. They are really at the heart of how companies are doing business in terms of hiring, marketing, sales, learning. You know, they have 5 really robust monetized business lines that are driving huge growth in their business. And ultimately what LinkedIn is a ice-breaking tool. That's how I think about it. The way that we would speak about it at LinkedIn is we talk about LinkedIn being a platform that exists to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And that's absolutely right. You know, it's here to help people be more productive and more successful in their careers and in their jobs and with their businesses. But ultimately, it's a network of people. And the way that you become more successful in business, so we believed at LinkedIn, and our founders believed, is by tapping up your network and by the people that you know. And so ultimately what we're trying to do is get you more well known within your business, within your local area, within your industry. And so LinkedIn is absolutely at the forefront for doing that. And what's interesting is I don't like to bucket LinkedIn together with other social media platforms, but people do. You know, I don't use Facebook hardly at all. I have an Instagram, I never use it. I have a TikTok, which I use for when I put my children to bed and I'm trying to kill 20 minutes, but I'm not active on social networks, but I'm extremely active on LinkedIn. And the reason that my clients like using it and that businesses trust it is because it always performs well in terms of its trust and historical sort of security record. It hasn't been embroiled in loads of scandals, let's say, you know, Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, Twitter with its Elon Musk stuff that's happening right now. It's very well trusted, which means that the platform continues to grow in a really safe way. So my 3-step approach, this applies if you are running your own small business, whether you're working perhaps in a bigger business. This applies to you no matter what. This is my 3-step approach in how to think about using LinkedIn and how to get the most value. So it's tied to why people come to LinkedIn. So these are the 3 reasons that people come to LinkedIn. They come to have a place online to house their professional profile of record. If you want to know about me professionally and what I do in my career, LinkedIn is the only place that you can do that. Even if I spent money on building a website, LinkedIn is so well search indexed on Google. If you search for me, my LinkedIn profile would come up on page 1 of the search results. I couldn't possibly afford that amount of marketing spend to get me onto page 1, but my LinkedIn profile gets me there. And it's unique. There's nothing else like it. So that's the first reason. Therefore, if that's the primary reason that people come, your profile needs to be absolutely robust, tells your story. It is not a CV. It shouldn't read like a CV. It shouldn't be text only. That's old fashioned. It should include modern elements like audio, video, media, documents, uploads. If you're in the visual fields, you can have a portfolio, you can have examples of your work, case studies, press releases, all these sorts of things. So your profile, no matter what you do on LinkedIn, all roads lead to Rome. If you connect with someone, they look at your profile. If you react to someone's content on your newsfeed, we know from the data, they look at your profile. If you comment on someone's content, they go, who's this? They look at your profile. So the profile is the heart of everything, which is why we've got to get that bit right. So that's part 1. The second part is the reason that people come to LinkedIn is to have a place where they can house all of their contacts. You know, so gone are the days of the Rolodex. And, you know, I used to have a card box I used to carry around with me from job to job with all my contacts in there. I have won so much business from people that I've not seen for 10 plus years, because we're connected on LinkedIn. They know what I'm doing. I know what they're doing. We may not have had a conversation, but when they needed somebody with my skill set, they've reached out to me. And I've got multiple examples personally, and I hear them all the time from other people where they've won business from people they've not seen in years and years and years, because they're connected. So therefore, the second thing that you really need to think about is just making sure that you're always adding connections from people that you know now, people that you've known before. Now, you know, I'm a believer in having a gatekeeper. I don't accept everyone. I decline more people than I accept, because my network is precious to me, and I don't want loads of people that I hardly know or don't know at all, who probably want something from me more than I want something from them. So general rule of thumb is don't let everyone in. Other people can see your network, and it's almost like you endorse other people if they see that you're connected to them. However, make sure that you're connected with people that you know from business, in your community, might be the gym, you know, your children's school, your family, etc. As long as you think that there's a potential to add value to each other, then add them. And then part 3, the third reason why people come to LinkedIn today is to learn. So people come to learn things about their industry, how to be better at the job that they do. What are the people in their industry doing? If you've got target, you know, businesses that you want to engage with, what are they talking about? And so if people are coming to learn, then the way that you actually raise your head above the parapet to be seen is by engaging with content, posting content, reacting to other people's content, posting content. And it might be that's not for everybody on this call, but if you don't engage with content, if you don't post content on a regular basis, then you're basically relying on people to find you. And by engaging in the news feed, by posting things, engaging with others, then actually you're triggering the algorithm and you're making it more likely that people will see you. So if you really want to get good value from LinkedIn, you need to be active with content. And I want to demystify that doesn't have to be really, really tricky. And there's also one of the things that we'll talk about later is, do you post from your company profile? If you've got one, you should have one. Or do you post from your personal profile? If you're a one-man band, then what do you do? So we're going to cover off that a little bit later, because that's quite a common question that I get, particularly from small businesses. So this is the process that we go through. Get your profile right. Always be adding connections in a thoughtful way. And if you really want to get value, then you need to engage with content and be posting content if you want to be seen, if you want your personal brand, professional brand to be out there. So that's kind of the process. So the first thing we're going to look at now is the profile. And I know that you've covered this, so I'm not going to, you know, we've only got an hour, and an hour goes by pretty quick. Here's an example of another business owner, Felix, who I don't know Felix, but Felix's content has passed my news feed. And now I feel like I know Felix because I follow him on LinkedIn. We've now connected on LinkedIn. We have some mutual connections in some charity work that we're both involved with. And he's got a great profile. So he's a good person to have a look at. Having a complete profile is not the be all and end all on LinkedIn. Having a profile that tells a story, and that so that people, when they land on your profile, are very clear about what you do, what you offer, why you offer what you offer, what drives you to do what you do, your passion, your personality. That is really what makes a successful profile. It's not just having all of these 12 boxes completed. It's got to be so much more than that. Because when somebody lands on your profile, as I said at the beginning, all we're trying to do is break the ice a little bit with them. We're trying to make a dent in their awareness of who you are, what you offer, and people do business with people. So we're trying to insert some of your personality and what drives you and why you do what you do into your profile. So just having the sections completed these days is not enough. So all of these areas are on the profile. Probably the top 5 or 6 are the most important ones to get right. So I'm going to go live in a second and I'll bring up my own profile and just show you some examples of the sorts of things. Plus there's lots of new features and functionality. So some of you on the call, we have a range of profile quality, let's say, on this call. So not everything's going to be relevant to all of you, but there should definitely be some interesting things in there for those, because there's some new features that you could look at. But the one thing I would say is before you do anything on your profile, just check your settings. Because so many times I look at people's profiles and either I can't see everything. Yesterday, I looked at somebody's profile, I couldn't see their picture. And we know that if you can see someone's picture, they get 14 times more engagement. So just go into your profile and settings. You can get there across, I can show you in a second on LinkedIn. Actually, let's do that now. Let me go onto LinkedIn and let me share this screen. Sorry, Kim, I was looking at your profile before, so you can.
That's quite all right.
So just spend 5 minutes having a look at your settings. You want to be as visible as possible. The whole point of being on LinkedIn is so that you can find others and be found. So if you go to the top menu and you click on me, and there's a little down arrow, you go to settings and privacy. There's a whole set of different subsections that you'll see here on the left. For the purposes of this conversation, the one I'm interested in is visibility. And just spend 5 minutes sense checking all of these different options. I think it's fairly intuitive. You know, you want to have, for example, on the first option, your full name and headline visible and not one of these private modes. So just go through and check all of these and make sure that you're as visible as possible and that you're comfortable with. One in particular that I will just mention is this one here, where it says share profile updates with your network. So if you go in and make any changes to your profile and you edit, I don't know, the experience section or the education section or whatever it is, the system will think you're making a change to your profile and it will send out a notification to your whole network. And you don't really want to do that because all you're doing is making an edit. So you want to make sure this one is switched to off. So that's all I'm going to mention on the settings. So why don't we jump into LinkedIn? I'll share with you, let's just use my profile as an example. The things that you really want to be looking at, I'm just going to start, you know, at the top. So there was those kind of 5 or 6 sections that I mentioned that you really want to get right. So this literally starting at the top, make sure that you customize your LinkedIn profile URL. If you've never gone in and manually changed this, you're going to have a load of random numbers and characters that appear in your URL after your name. It looks untidy, doesn't look professional, but also from an algorithm point of view, if people search for you by name, that makes it harder to find you. All you do is click on this link on the side here, follow the steps, and you can customize your URL to whatever you want it to say. Simple 1-minute job. Strongly recommend doing that. If you don't have a background image on your profile here, you've got the kind of default, you see Kim's got a nice one here of people jumping off. This says something. Obviously, Kim's a career coach and business advisor. Something in this message, in this visual, says something about what Kim does. My brand is around the fox, so I've just recently included some imagery around here, which links back to my brand. You can really have anything. If you have got, you know, if you've developed a brand, Ian Myers, I can see you've got your ethical comms behind you. You can use that. The only thing I'd say is just make sure that you have nothing on the bottom left corner, because that's where your profile picture is going to go. And always have a look. 70% of LinkedIn traffic comes from the mobile. So always make sure if you upload something to this space, check and see how it looks on the mobile, because you don't want that to, you know, look bad. Profile picture, generally speaking, I think these days people tend to get this mostly right, so I won't labor the point here, but really what you're looking for is a close cropped head and shoulders shot of you smiling on a plain background. And believe it or not, we actually had some data at LinkedIn to say that an open mouth smile got more engagement than a closed mouth smile. So I guess it shows how, you know, warm and inviting you are. Yeah, this sort of headshot works perfectly. I have put a little blue ring around mine just to make mine stand out, which I did on Canva, which is, I'm sure some of you probably know Canva. For those that don't, it's a really cheap / free design tool where you can make really cool social media designs. And, you know, that took me again about 2 minutes to create. Also, by the way, if you don't have your own branding for your company, which I don't, I've never invested a penny in any branding. I created my own logo on canva.com. And like this image, for example, I use a site called Unsplash, which is a royalty-free image library. So you can literally search for any term. I search for the term fox, and you can use any images on their site for free. So another little tip if you're looking for something to go in this space. Whizzing down here, headline, which is this bit of space underneath your name. Again, if you haven't gone in and manually changed that, this system will automatically default to whatever it says your current job at your current company is. That's what it will put in this space. But you should go in and change that, because this is effectively your sort of personal brand tagline. This is what you want to be known for. It should be keyword rich. So if I take Adam as the example, who's a photographer, Adam does headshots. So you might want to say photographer, headshots. Other things that I know Adam does is that he shoots property. So you might want to just put maybe a couple of keywords in there. So say, for example, I'm sorry, I'm picking on you, my ethical comms friend, because you happen to be one on my screen. Tell me what ethical comms actually is. Like, you might want to have a couple of keywords in there. Another little helpful device is you might say helping companies to ... So actually show the value that you bring. We're always trying to show value and impact in the words that we're expressing on our profile. So for me, there are lots of other self-styled LinkedIn trainers, advisors, consultants out there. So I need to think about what differentiates me from the crowd. And one of the things that differentiates me is that I actually work there for a very long time. So I lead with LinkedIn alumni because that immediately stands out. And then I talk about what I do, which is strategy for marketing, sales, and personal brand. You may notice that I have these hashtags on my profile. That's because I have this new feature on LinkedIn switched on called creator mode. Even if you're not going to become a prolific content creator, it's worth switching it on. When you're looking at your own profile, there's this box here called resources, and that's where you can find that. There's more. LinkedIn is very focused on helping people create and share content on LinkedIn. It's all part of the long-term plan. But what it does is it gives you, at the moment, a few extra nice little bits of functionality. So I can have some hashtags on here about things that I talk about, which again is good for the algorithm, which helps people find me. I can have a link on here. So if you do have a website, you can link it right at the top of your profile. Believe it or not, you couldn't do that before. Small thing, but very helpful. And other things as well. So for example, if people send me a connection request, they instantly follow me, even if I don't reply to that person. So as I said to you, I get connection requests, which I decline all the time, but those people are still following me. So again, in terms of me growing my network, then that's really, really helpful. So I'd say switch it on. It also does a few other things, but I think for now, that's probably the most important things to mention. You also might see as well the little audio symbol here. So I said at the start that the LinkedIn profile shouldn't just be text-based anymore. It's old-fashioned. It's not a modern approach to how you present yourself on LinkedIn. This is actually a name pronouncer. You access it through the LinkedIn app. So it was designed for people who've got difficult to pronounce names, because, you know, it helps when you go into a conversation and actually somebody knows. Plus, it's a really nice way just to get your voice onto your profile, which again creates an instant connection. We're human beings at the day. We're trying to make connections with other people. So even though I have an easy to pronounce name, I still use it because it gives me an opportunity to introduce myself and say, hi, I'm Laura. I sometimes go by the LinkedIn Fox, and it just puts my name onto, it puts my voice, onto my profile. So again, I would take that opportunity as a little marketing, as a marketing device. And finally, just on this top part of the profile, did you notice, and I'll just relaunch it again, that when my profile came up, I had a video, which hopefully will launch any second now. You'll see my profile picture will move to a video. Again, great. That's your 30-second elevator pitch. That's your opportunity to talk about what you and your business do. Video is everything in business these days. You know, so I work with so many businesses who are training their people in how to present themselves on video, how to have discussions on video. I work with video trainers who teach people how to make content on their smartphone. Video is such an important medium these days in presenting what you and your company does. So this is a great opportunity, again, from the mobile app, 30 seconds, have a look at mine, have a look, you know, LinkedIn CEO Ryan Roslansky does a nice one. 30-second elevator pitch about you and your business. You want to just present yourself as being warm, friendly, professional, knowledgeable, credible, and talk about what it is that you do. You can upload a video, or you can literally just shoot it native from the app. And I just propped my phone up on my laptop, pressed the record button, fluffed my words probably about 8 or 9 times before I had a take that I was happy with, and then I just let it go. So I strongly urge you to take that opportunity to do that. So that's all of that is just the top part of the profile. I haven't even gone on to talking about anything else, but I do want to talk about 1 or 2 other things on the profile, 1 or 2 other areas, in particular this summary, because I see all manner of summaries, but this again, the video is your video elevator pitch. This is your written elevator pitch, but it's about you. When you have it on your personal profile, this is really about your journey. You're trying to connect with the reader and show them your career journey, how you got to this point, what your passion is, why you're doing what you do, and why what they should connect with you or follow you. So it's almost like a story, past, present, future, what I've done before, what I'm doing right now, and what your business wants to do, or why you want to talk to certain people, or why they should connect with you, and limit it to 2 sentences each. About my length is right. People do not want to read a long essay on LinkedIn. People don't have the attention span online. So keep it really short, pack it full of relevant keywords. So if you're, I don't know, a florist or a dog walker, you want to put lots of relevant words in there that straight away make it clear what your business does. If you're in finance, if you're a mortgage broker, you want to make sure that you've got all of the relevant industry words that people might need to see. And if you can be specific as well with the examples. So if you've had a 20-year corporate career and you've worked with lots of great companies and well-known brands, but now you're running your own small business, name drop all those organizations because they add, you know, instant credibility. So don't be afraid to sort of mention other things that you've done. So, you know, you can see here on my profile, I say my clients include, and I list them out because it makes it, you know, straight away makes it clear that, you know, I've done a lot of different things. And also don't forget to include your contact details. People often forget that because actually they are buried here in this little blue hyperlink. But I tell you what, I get so many questions when I do sessions, like where are the contact details? People can never find them. So make it really easy to signpost how people can get in touch with you. So I would recommend definitely having a go at perhaps having a look at your profile. Oh, by the way, always write in the first person. So many times I see people talking about themselves in the third person, and it should be written in the first person. You are trying to make a direct connection with the reader. We're trying to break the ice with that reader so they feel inclined to contact you. So it should always be written in the I. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on now is very briefly is obviously the experience section, which goes back and talks about what you've done before and what you're doing right now. So even though I am a small business, I still have a company page on LinkedIn. It doesn't have very much on it, but if I didn't have a company page on LinkedIn, where my little logo is here that I created, I would have just a grey box, which doesn't look very nice. And again, I'm missing an opportunity to have a free page on LinkedIn. If I click on that, it goes through to my company page. Obviously, this stuff you're seeing because I'm in an admin mode, but it just gives me an opportunity to say a few words about my company, explain what we do, have some imagery. I post on here, and we're coming on to the next point about content, which is absolutely good segue. I post on here once every 6 months. I do not have the bandwidth to build a presence around both a company page and my personal profile. And my personal profile has 10 years, 15 years worth of connections, and I'm starting from scratch. Now, I have no great plan to expand my business or scale my business beyond maybe 1 to 3 employees. If you are in a different situation where you do have plans to grow, scale, sell a business, you may want to focus your energy on content and building out this page. And I work with many businesses, small businesses that do that because they have got plans to do that. As an individual micro business, I do not want to do that. So I put something up here once every 6 months, basically to, if anyone comes to visit, they see something here, but I focus all my energies on putting out content on my personal page. But I mention it because I want to have that page because it looks credible, it looks professional on LinkedIn, and I don't want that horrible grey logo that's sitting on here. Kim, I'm just going to have a look at your profile to see if you have any of those. Yeah, so please, Kim, don't take this the wrong way. This is what you'd get because Kim never has a profile, a company page, sorry, for this business. And so I can't click anywhere. I'm reliant on just the text on her profile here. So it's just a missed opportunity. So I strongly recommend you set one up. And then all you want to say within your experience is the format is this: a line about the company, provide some context, let people know what your business does, a couple of lines about what you do, and then really it's about, again, outcomes and impact. Like, what is it that you're helping people to do? So I talk about what my company does. Again, I name drop who my clients are. And then the way that I've positioned it, just because this is just my personal style, I've put some of my favorite projects. And what I've done is I've got 6 bullet points of different types of things that I do within my business, which shows the range. So these demonstrate that I do executive coaching, that I do group training, that I do B2B marketing. So each one of these is very specifically thought out to demonstrate different offerings within my business. So it could be, sometimes you might have just specialities, people list out specialities. That's okay too, but be as specific as you can, because you want someone, if they land on your profile, if they found your way here, they want to be able to see that you can help them with what they're looking for. So make it as real as possible for them so they can see themselves in your profile and go, oh yeah, I should. It's not right now. You've made a dent in their awareness that one day, should they need your services, they know where to come. And actually, that's a point worth noting. LinkedIn isn't a silver bullet. It's about creating long-term brand awareness of you and what you do for the medium to long term. You might get a lead tomorrow, but actually, it's about creating long-term relationships with people for now and for the future. So it's quite a lot we've covered in that section just then. I'm going to stop and pause on the profile now, because I want to go into talking about the content and make sure that we leave time for questions as well. So let me go back. So I've already mentioned...
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I just ask you a quick question on something you mentioned? Yeah. You said that if people request to connect with you and you don't necessarily accept them, they follow you. Can you just explain to us, or what is the difference between connecting with somebody and following them?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't have to connect with someone in order to see their content. So there's lots of people professionally that I'm interested in, but they don't know me and I don't know them, and they may not want to accept my connection request, but I still want to follow them. I still want to see. It might be peers in my industry. I might be nosy and wanting to know what other, I don't know, LinkedIn experts are doing. So I follow a whole bunch of different people, again, for my professional interest. Or it might be clients that I'm already working with one person in a business, but I'm also interested in Bob, Sue and Harry. And so I don't know them. They may not want to connect with me, so I can follow. So you can follow any individual on LinkedIn, and you can follow any company on LinkedIn. And actually, even more than that, LinkedIn has just introduced this new feature where you can ring someone's bell. So because the algorithm has to sort out what you see in your news feed, and I'm connected to thousands of people and I follow hundreds and hundreds of people, LinkedIn algorithm is trying to decide what to show me. Royden, oh, there we go. So LinkedIn introduced this new feature where on someone's profile and on every company page, there's a little bell.
Royden, sorry, I'm going to mute you because you're making noise.
So you can ring someone's bell, which means that you will always see their content. So if there's someone, so there are some certain people that I'm really interested in for various reasons, that I'm interested in what they do professionally, or it's a client that I'm in like active conversations with, I want to make sure I always see their content. I can follow that person and ring their bell, which means that LinkedIn will always show me anything that they post on LinkedIn. So I hope that's clear, the difference between connection and follow.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've got a great profile, you're adding people thoughtfully to your network. What's next? Well, if you really want to stand out, then you have to do that with content. And I've mentioned already, you can have a company page, you can have your personal profile. I always recommend, no matter how big your business is, to have a company page, whether you choose to proactively grow your following or not. I do not have the bandwidth, as I mentioned. So when I put content out, I post it from Laura Fox, not LinkedIn Fox. But depending on what your goals are for your business, it might be that you need to do both. And all you have to do then is think about, well, what's my plan? So let's just take a step back a little bit. When it comes to content, the algorithm which drives what people see on LinkedIn is really driven by kind of two main things and a million other things. The two main things are quality and consistency. So there is no point putting content out once a week, because the algorithm needs to be triggered. It needs to see, LinkedIn is going to reward you if you're more active on the platform. And it used to be, even only 6 months ago, that I would say to people, try and post something once or twice a week. Really and truly, you need to be active on content every day, Monday to Friday. And that might be through a comment on someone else's post. It might be putting out a post of your own. And often that creates a lot of, well, pressure and stress. You know, how am I gonna write content? Number one, some people, they don't feel confident writing content. They're not naturally a natural writer. But there is two ways that you can put out content. You can write your own, whether it be something that's come, you know, a thought that's come to mind, or a piece of news that you want to share about your company, or a good news story, or whatever that is. Or you can curate content. So it might be that you've read something on an online news channel on the BBC or whatever it is, and you can share that with a few sentences of your own about what's your personal perspective. I don't know if any of you recognize this guy, but this guy, love him or hate him, he's Marmite, is Gary Vaynerchuk. He runs a big media business, and he has quite a similar approach to me in that he talks about document, don't create. So I take the pressure off myself when it comes to trying to put content out a minimum of 3 times a week by documenting things that are happening around me. So I've always got my spidey senses are always on, thinking about what am I going to put on my LinkedIn, because it's such an important channel for me, not just because I talk about LinkedIn, but because it's how I get business. So I'm always thinking, what can I put on LinkedIn? And I'm having interesting conversations every single day in relation to my business. And I'm picking up nuggets of information every single day, whether it be questions that I get in a session, or so I might write a post about that, or somebody telling me about something that's happening in their business, and I might, write something about that, or I'm reading something on LinkedIn or something on the BBC. Every day I'm engaging in some way with my business, and I'm learning, and I'm new ideas are coming to mind. And so what I do is I write a post about it. I think where people find they put themselves under pressure to write, what am I going to write this week? And it's got to be, really kind of well thought out. Actually, every day things are coming to mind, and you're having conversation with clients. Like if you're working in recruitment, what's the most common question that you get every day? What's the market like? If you're a dog walker, what's the common questions that people get? Like, what's your setup like? Or how many other dogs are you looking after? Or if you're a photographer, what makes a good headshot? If you're in finance, like, what's happening with the economy? Like, what are interest rates doing to mortgage prices? Conversations are happening every day. So just try and capture those moments and write a little post about it, or share something that you've written. The most important thing when it comes to putting yourself out there with content is that you have a personal perspective and you have a point of view, and that it's authentically you. So people are buying you, people are buying your credibility, your expertise, but they're buying you as a person if they want to do business with you. So authenticity is absolutely critical to what you put out. Be yourself. There should be no disconnect in how you come across online with when people actually meet you, because ultimately the goal for all of this is we're trying to turn these online connections, these online relationships, into real world business. So you want to be the same person online that you are in real life. The other thing as well is you want to be helpful. People come to LinkedIn to learn. So help someone. If I am working in finance, then what are some of the things that people are most interested in talking to me about right now? Maybe you can put a post out, once a week about, most common questions that you get. So really, you need to be posting regularly, twice per week at a very minimum. In terms of the order, posting has got the most bang for your buck, followed by commenting, followed by reactions. So always try and post a couple of times a week. Commenting on other people's content is really effective. The algorithm likes it, the other person likes it. And don't just comment, with like 2 or 3 words, way to go, or thanks for sharing. Try and put something that's a little bit more thoughtful. Or why you think that's interesting. And obviously you can be quite strategic about it. You can be strategic about whose posts you're commenting on if you want someone to notice you. And reacting is when you can there's about 6 or 7 different reactions you can do now. So you can you can laugh, you can support, you can celebrate, you say something's insightful. There's all these different emojis that you can click on, and do that all the time. Without really thinking about it. One of the things I did want to mention is if you're new to content and it all feels a bit scary, and I'm just going to click on, sorry, I don't have a slide on it. There's a new option. If you see on someone's post, you get the option at the bottom of the post to share with your thoughts. Don't make sharing your sole strategy for putting out content, because it doesn't have as much power as your own original post. But it's a good way to start. So if someone else puts something out there and you think it's really good and that people in your network might also really appreciate it, then share with your comments. That's fine. But don't make that your sole strategy. If you are going to be active on LinkedIn and you can see it as a way to help you grow your business, don't make sharing your sole way that you're going to put content out there. It's a bonus. It's not the only way to do things. Hold on a second, I'm trying to move on to my next slide. A few other pointers when it comes to sharing content. Don't be salesy. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I wonder what Laura Fox is doing today. You know, they come onto LinkedIn to serve their own purposes, not to help me achieve mine. So you will be much more appreciated if you are sharing content that's helpful to others, rather than saying, this is my Black Friday deal, or look at this amazing work that I did. You can pepper any testimonials that you get, or, you know, positive client recommendations in other content. That's okay, but it shouldn't be. You are not here to sell. It's boring. It turns people off. You will be much more successful if you can help other people with what they might be thinking about, because people wake up thinking about their own problems and their own challenges and not just yours. The other thing as well to think about is think about who you might be sharing content for. So in my professional life, LinkedIn makes up about 90% of what I do. The other 10% might be some charity work that I do. And I've also been very active with a leadership development program, which I've been helping to administer and run for the last 3 years. So my purpose for being on LinkedIn is really to boost my business. So think about who it is that you're writing for, and try to be really narrow with the content that you share. So Adam, say for example, you're really focused right now on your headshots. Now, you might just want to really go all in on talking about, you know, what great lifestyle shots are, what great headshots look for, as opposed to, you know, what's your perspective on kind of, I don't know, modern photography trends, rather than just talking about, you know, a really broad set of photography or artistic related themes. Like ultimately you're here to try to promote what great headshots look for. Actually, that's quite narrow. You might want to say photography and lifestyle. So for me, I focus on sharing content around 2 main areas: LinkedIn, obviously, and B2B marketing. And I really, if you look at my content, I pretty much only share content on those 2 pillars, even though I have other professional interests in my charity, in my leadership development stuff. I really focus on, just because you have a very narrow opportunity to create a dent in that person's awareness, and I want it to be around LinkedIn and B2B marketing. So think about what are the maybe 2 or 3 areas that you're going to share content about, and relentlessly share content on the same things. That is how you will start to build up a momentum and an awareness for what you do. For a bit of fun, I did this for another client, so I thought I'd share this here. People love formats. There's so many different formats that you can share in. You can share content in text only, image posts, video posts, document posts, all these different things. But what should you actually write about? One of the things I mix into your mix of content. So you might have a couple of posts that you write every week. You're going to write about what, you know, something related to your core industry. People love this stuff that's on the screen. So if ever you're looking for, like, well, actually, people love career advice. You know, what's a common misconception in your industry? You know, I engage with a lot of other people that do similar things to me, and we share challenges that we face and things that people want to know. So these are basically just thought starters. So if ever you're not sure, or you have a week when you're like, oh, okay, every week I'm going to write something about my business or my industry, but I also want to put something else out there that is just going to create goodwill within my audience, because again, we don't want to be salesy. People come on here to learn. These are just some other things that you can mix in. I think having that mix is what's really, really important. So we'll share the slides with you, so don't feel like you need to take a note of these. And I'm just coming up to the close now, so we've got time for questions. The other thing that's really important is, when do you post? Because if you're only going to post twice, 3 times a week, ideally, and even for some of you, you're probably thinking that is a lot right now, you want to try and post when the traffic is at its peak. So tend to avoid Mondays and Fridays. And this does change. You know, 6 months ago, this table looked quite different. I tend to avoid, if I have to, Mondays and Fridays, although I did put something out on Monday. Anywhere where it's dark blue is good. So generally speaking, what's that? Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays between 9 and 1. So I had somebody contact me yesterday. They wanted me just to have a quick reread of something they're about to put out. And he was procrastinating over what image to attach to his post. And I was like, get this out now, because it was like 10 to 2. And I know that the traffic starts to die off. But don't be, don't go by this religiously. This is just a guide. I've posted on a Sunday not that long ago, and the post did really, really well. So it does depend on what your content is. Quality is really important. If you've got a great post that really resonates with people, anytime can work. But if you're only going to post a few times a week, you may as well try and hit one of the peak traffic times. So I appreciate there was a lot of stuff there. We could, I run all morning sessions just on content when we start to go through format types and all these other things. But I wanted to give you a broad overview. So Kim, are there...
We've got time for a question or two. I've got one question, which is, how do you suggest people build up their business page followers?
Yeah, it's really hard. It is really, really hard. It takes time, and you have to be relentless with posting content in a variety of formats. So that's one thing. You can invite, as the admin of your company page, you can invite your connections to follow that page. It's a manual process, and you have a limit on how many people that you can invite at any one time. It's like 200, it's quite a lot. So I would manually go in, and you can actually just go in, you'll see invite connections to that page. That's a really good way to do it. You can pay, for advertising on LinkedIn. I don't recommend doing that until your organic, your free content is really robust, that you've got a regular kind of cadence for posting, both on your company page, but because LinkedIn advertising can be quite expensive, because the targeting is amazing and second to none and unrivaled. So you can pay, but unfortunately it's a slog. It's a slog. You just have to be really active on an ongoing, regular basis and be inviting people. And if you're putting quality content out there, people will like it, share it, and comment on it. But I'd say that getting to the first 500 followers is hard. Once you get past that barrier, it's easier. But you can do all sorts of things. They've got newsletter formats now. If you've already got a newsletter that you've created for your business, you can almost transfer that onto LinkedIn. Which is another great way to try and grow your follower base. So you just got to start, really.
Sure.
There are loads of really good resources on LinkedIn. If you just do a Google search for LinkedIn small business, I think it's got its own dedicated website where there's lots of good resources on there.
Fantastic. Thank you. I think we've run out of time, unfortunately, for any more questions, but I think you would all agree with me that that was fantastically insightful, interesting. Thank you so much, Laura. We really